It's not a party without the drugs. Chapter 12. Opening the Castle Gates. Hippie Fl1p. 3:30 p.m. We had been following the black paved road for a good 15 minutes, until we stumbled upon the big sign pointing to the festival entrance. It wasn't hard to find considering there were more than 500 people lined up on the street, waiting to get in, all at the same time. In this moment, it was clear. Every attendee was being searched at the festival entrance. Thoroughly. Blake and I joined the huge mob of people as we disappeared into the crowd. I didn't know what else to do to bypass time, so I did what I knew best. I chugged the beer we got from the grounds control team and made small talk with Blake. I yelled over the clutter of sound from all the attendees. "So, what's been your favorite part of the journey so far, man?" Blake swung his arm around my shoulders and pulled me closer to him. "My favorite moment so far has got to be you getting caught at the gates. I told you not to bring any weed. We could have both went to jail for that shit." I glanced up at the gates, where attendees were starting to separate into 8 different search lines. As I looked back down, Blake's face stalled just a few inches away from mine. "I'm sorry, man. That was my bad. I know you're always telling me to be careful with that shit, but it's practically legal. Did you see how they just threw it away in that black bin?" Blake laughed, looking away from me. "Yeah, your weed's just sitting in there along with all the other drugs people got caught with." I laughed with him. Could you imagine having all those drugs in our possession? We'd be millionaires by the end of this weekend. Look at everyone around us. I glanced around at all the young ravers, who clearly were all on their own concoction of drugs. My mind lit up at the thought of money. Then I thought about a more realistic scheme. It was a thought of stimulation. A lot of bright colors flashed in front of my eyes. Green, blue, purple, crystal white. I took another swig from my can of beer and peered around as people bit their nails and shook with an uncontrollable amount of nervousness and excitement. It became evident quickly that everyone had water bottles in their hands to water down the drugs they were on. I chuckled to myself. I don't need water. Beer is my hydration. I raised the blue beer can up, and when I looked past the can, I noticed an attendee next to me lift up a blue Dasani water bottle with a green leaf. They tapped their bottle against my can, and our heads went back. Then, the crime in my head started to construct itself right in front of my eyes, as I drunkenly scanned over the crowd full of ravers. I could sneak in thousands and thousands of dollars worth of drugs into this festival. Almost every campsite had a 24-pack of bottled water, and every vehicle passed through the same gates we did. So why would the cops even think of looking there? A bell rang in my mind. An Amazon page flashed in my head like a pop-up advertisement. Those same exact Dasani water bottles, but with stash spots, were on Amazon for $15 3 weeks ago. I imagined myself buying a 24-pack of normal Dasani water bottles and taking out all 24 bottles from the package. Then I saw myself loading up the stash spots, full with marijuana and marijuana wax. Ounces on ounces of marijuana appeared right before my eyes. I just wanted to roll up a joint and take a drag. Inhale the... My imagination became high. I visualized the scheme in full effect. I saw myself selling a bunch of drugs to attendees. I dreamed about the people I would meet along the way, the money I would count, and then how I would stash it all away. And that's when I pictured the cops busting me in my tent with a bunch of marijuana and money. Piles of money. Piles of marijuana falling from the ceiling of the tent. Bottles of booze laying everywhere. A red bong broken. Then I felt the prison cell close right before my eyes. I heard the judge's mallet hit the stone pallet with my life in his hands. I recognized the faces of my family in the courtroom. They were all disappointed by my actions, and they knew in that moment I would never, ever become a lawyer. My daydream evaporated in the bright sun, just like the liquor evaporating out of my skin. The line pushed forward. I looked back at Blake. Yeah, if I wasn't going to be a lawyer, we'd be running this festival. But we wouldn't be selling hard drugs. We'd be selling pounds of marijuana and wax. I don't know if it was the booze or my instincts, but something clicked in my head as a person behind me pushed against my back and my feet stuttered forward. My eyes gravitated towards 2 white males on my left-hand side who were tucking tiny baggies into the lining of their boxers. They were stashing drugs, but the security guards to my right and in front of me were too distracted by the huge crowd to even notice. We were all just a clusterfuck of people. They didn't care about drugs. All they cared about was getting people into the festival safely. I thought about the males' actions, and right as the 2 males flapped their shirts back down over their waistbands, I remembered the capsules of Molly in my pocket. I replayed the action of the males. I reached into my pocket, gripped onto the tiny plastic baggie. I kept my hand closed while I pulled my hand out of my short pocket. I quickly slid my hand down my pants and placed the baggie next to my dick in my airtight boxer briefs. Two hands pushed aggressively up against my back again, thrusting a metal rail into my hip. Blake separated from me as the 300 attendee line became split into 8 individual lines. And that's when Blake pulled out another bottle, a crumpled one. He looked at me. Yo, hippie, I forgot about some extra dancing juice. He tossed me the half-full bottle, and I quickly chugged a large portion. One person went through, chug, another, chug, another, chug. I drunkenly swung the bottle over the gate to Blake, in line next to me. I stiffened my back up, picked myself up, and popped a piece of gum into my mouth. Then I counted 40 more people. By the time I became face to face with the security guards at the festival gates, I kept my mouth shut and responded with my body language to the security guard's commands. It was a breeze, a light tap on the sides of my shorts, and a pat against my shoes. I slid my wristband against the ticket scanner, and voila, I was in. I glanced to my left at the checkpoint next to mine as I continued to walk forward into the festival. My eyes became glued to the security guard searching through Blake's camera bag at the security tent. Unconsciously, I leaned back against a metal webbing fence and waited. It felt like a short wait, or maybe the liquor was just hitting harder. But less than a minute later, the security guard waved his white hand towards Blake. He slid his wristband and ran towards the fence with excitement. To others, it might have looked like some cheesy Bud Light commercial, when their favorite team scores a touchdown and the whole party jumps off the couch going wild. But Blake and I, we didn't have time to sit on a couch. We came to this place to escape. We were here to get lost in our own paradise, away from real life, where we could live life and experience life with amazing people all around us. Blake wiggled his GoPro in his hand and then hit me in the hip with his camera bag. Well, that was the lightest security check ever. I could have brought in a whole pound for you in my bag. I laughed out loud as we turned 240 degrees around the corner. Excitement exploded in the back of our minds, and unexpected moments lied ahead behind the castle gates, lighting up in our eyes.